Hello Stampers, this is super awesome stamper Shirley Merker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, USA. In this video, I will show you how to assemble your September 2025 jar kits in the mail. So you notice I open these up, they don't have anything in inside, partly because I'm saving that paper. I've got a limited stock of this Need for Tweed paper, but I'll show you how to finish the inside so it looks cute while using the supplies in your kit. All right, so you are going to need to gather quite a few things from your own stash to replicate what I have on my cards. So Stampin' Up! Does not allow us to include the stamped images, so you have to provide all of your sentiments and background stamps, the jar, the snowman, the gingerbread, all of that, and hopefully you have went to my online store already and made some purchases. So to complete this kit, you would need the Jar of Joy stamp set, which is sold individually under the online exclusives, and then the Sweet Jar stamp set. Now the Sweet Jar stamp set is sold as a bundle with the coordinating punch, or you can buy them separately. But if you purchase with the bundle, you get 10% off the total price. So grab those things, lots of blocks, and start mounting your stamps. Other things that I use to complete my kits, I generally like at least 2 colors. So for the green card, I use the Garden Green Early Espresso, and my neutral is Crumb Cake. For the Snowman card, I use the Night of Navy, the Gorgeous Grape for the scarf, and then the Crumb Cake. You'll get your favorite adhesives, tape runner, glue dot, tear and tape, some dimensionals. I've got some dimensionals here that I colored with blends so I can find them easier. I'm going to leave these on my counter because otherwise the white ones get lost. You don't need your punches, but I just wanted to share actually a tip how to use your punch if you purchased it. I use the Bee Builder punch to include your garden green hearts. Thought it was something a little different, but you don't need that on your table. Bone folder, paper snips in case you need it, and I think we're ready to get started. All right, so let me bring in one kit at once. It's up here. Here is one kit. Oops. Now I have included a few extra things. This little piece was what I cut off the top. You can use it as you wish, but I will actually show you how to use it a little bit later. A strip of embellishments. Now you'll either get the current neutral matte dots, or you'll get a strip of these dots that were included as part of the coffee online suite. I think it was last summer, the adhesive backs really dots. So you'll get a strip of neutral dots in the garden green. And then in the Night of Navy, you'll get the Hot Cocoa die cut from the More Than Autumn die cutting set. Jar punch, the pattern paper, a strip. These are retired pecan pie and clear ribbon adhesive back. Or you'll get a strip of what's current, the Opal Rounds assortment. I didn't use them in my samples, but you will, maybe I'll get inspired while I'm stamping with you too. You also get a length of ribbon on each of the kits. If you have purchased the punch and the stamp set and want to make more jars that are perfectly lined up, try this technique. Ink up a jar bottom. Place your template over it. So I've punched a few jars already. Line it up. And it might be easier if you don't do the same colored template as the color you're going to stamp on. It's also easier if you're not doing it around a camera stand and lights. And then stamp it into that. And that should be pretty close. It's not quite, but you get the idea. I'm trying to stamp and punch around a camera stand. And if you had to redo the topper on its own, that's going to be easy enough to do. Although I've had success stamping on a punch topper. Yep, just like that. So you, in your kit, that's just if you purchased the stamp set and the punch and, let's leave that open, and want to do more jars. But I cannot include the stamped images in your kits. Therefore, let's pull one in here. Do the green kit first. So you will have to have just a plain jar, or you can grab your Stampin' Write marker, the fine tip, and you could go and make all of those lines if you like. If you have a steady hand and want to trace around, I don't have a steady hand and you're watching me, but you kind of get the idea. You could make all the shadows on your jar or just leave it plain. Okay, so we're done with that. So I'm going to leave it plain. I'm going to set this aside because we are going to cut our pattern paper. Move that aside. We don't need that. So I told you beginning of the video that I don't have the inside stamped or decorated. That's because you'll use a piece for the outside and a triangle. And I designed it so you'd put a piece on the inside and your basic white. But once you cut this into 2 triangles, you could certainly just line this with basic white and use this pattern paper and the second triangle to create a different card and put it on your own cardstock. All right, so let's get that started. Grab your paper trimmer. And then it will matter which corner you do. Well, yes and no, but I want to cut from the upper right-hand corner to the bottom left. Put your corners into your cutting groove. Find your cutting blade and cut through. Okay, and there you get your 2 halves. So if you use the card how I designed it, pattern paper on the front, and then a pattern paper on the inside with the basic white, you'd have this leftover piece. But if you take this DSP, pull it out, just use the basic white for the inside. You can use this on a second card and add your cardstock. And then I also included this strip because I don't need it. You could cut this in half so you have a long strip. Let's do that. And it is, how wide is it? 1.5 inches. So it's 3/4. If we cut it at 3/4 inches, and try to do this straight. We have a strip to decorate both of the cards. So this will go on the inside of the card supplies that I provided. And then this and this will be added to your own cardstock to make a second card. Okay, so got that explained. Now we're going to pull on our paper piercing mat and get some stamping started. So let's move some stuff out of the way. Actually, I need this and I need this. And we're going to stamp like this. Also going to pull in a piece of just white paper to keep my Stampin' Pierce mat clean. And then I'm going to angle this here. Well, let's move this down so you can see what I'm doing. Put this here, and we're just going to follow my template. Okay, so let's crack open some ink pads. Early Espresso I use for the gingerbread. And that's from the Jar of Joy. Now, if you don't have the Jar of Joy, I'm sure you've got something else that will small enough that will fit inside your jar. Just go and snag it. Okay, and that's the only thing I used for the, oh no, I did use this, but that'll be in a little bit. So I'm going to put that aside. And then we're going going to grab our crumb cake and we're going to try this again. Oh, pretty good. And it's actually easier to actually line this up when it's against a piece of white. Let's see how I did. Nope, I didn't do very good. Let's try the other side. Side that I drew on. There. All right, I'm gonna have to bring the gingerbread back in. Stamp again. Okay. Done with the jar for now and the topper. So now I need to do my words and my hearts. Pulling the garden green ink pad. Oh, I have these ribbons here. The ribbons are retired. This is from the annual catalog last year, I'm pretty sure, and this was from that coffee suite, but those are the 2 ribbons I included in your kits. I love my neutral ribbons. I always order a lot, and I always have a lot in stock of neutrals because I just think the crumb cake craft colors just goes with everything. All right, now these words are really tiny, but this looks like it's green. Sending you a jar full of cheer. Yep, that's green. Let's move this out of the way. And I think I'm going to move this up so it's the green. And then, may your heart be filled with joy is the craft crumb cake. And then the hearts are green. Okay. All right, we've gotten like nowhere fast, but that's okay. We're just having a good time stamping together. All right, so I wanted cheer to end up in the top corner, but this kind of scallopy ribbon is going to overhang the DSP and the cardstock. So have that first line be lower a little bit so you can have space for that scallop. Remember, tap, 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 straight up and down, no rocking, firm and committed pressure is the photopolymer mantra. Okay, and we are going to try to make sure I stamp right side up. And just copy my pattern. May your heart be filled with joy. And then next up are hearts. These are 2 heart stamps. I just put 2 of them together. Let's start there. And green is an unusual color for hearts, but that's okay. I don't mind unusual. And then the next color is going to be the green, sending you a jar of cheer. And I did the sending a jar. Of cheer. Hearts. I might put one right there. Okay. So there is that. The stamping is done for that. Why don't I do this for the inside? This and this. And which one do I want? Oh, I already got green on there. Darn it. Flip it over. Let's do, oh, will this even fit on there? Yep. There. That'll be on the top. Okay, so we're done with this one. I close it up and we're done with the green stamps. I use totally different stamps for the snowman stamp. And didn't use that one either, but I'm going to use craft again. All right, so let's start to assemble a little bit. If you noticed, I wanted to pull in the Early Espresso Dark Brown. And what I did was I did direct to paper on the edge of the card base. How about I do direct to paper right on the Designer Series paper and see if we like that look instead. So let's get some adhesive down on our triangle. And all the measurements for this card will be in the PDF that I emailed to you. Plus, as a bonus, in February of 2026, I'll come into your email again and you will get a brand new card or a brand new PDF that features this design. I should say you should. It is in the works for one of the Simple Specialty Samples group that I lead. And that's a monthly PDF. We change the design each month and give you a whole different other samples using that same design. So the demonstrators just follow the tutorial and they add their own take on that design for the month. And that allows us to show you how to use your own supplies to apply it to that design. Okay, there's that and that. Now, what I wanted to do was, good thing I didn't close up the Early Espresso. We're just going to do direct to paper on the DSP instead of the card base and see if we like that. Oh yeah, that antique-y look on the DSP adds just a nice little, I love vintage shabby chic stuff there. A nice little pop, a nice little layer and definition. Okay, so then we can add 3 strips of adhesive. And then on the inside will be this. And I've got some brown ink on there, but oh wow, I'll have to write my sentiment over that. That's what I usually do. If I get ink on the inside, I strategically write the message there. There. So that's how you use that strip above, which means what you have left in your kit is a piece of DSP, a triangle, and this. So you add your own ribbon, your own jar, or your other focal point that you got from your own stash and your own cardstock. You can make it a second card. Okay, so there's this, and guess what? We gotta find this. And I used a little bit of Tombow glue to adhere the topper on. I think that still is going to be the best choice. Wow, I didn't get that topper very straight. Let me find the other one that I did. Did I do another one? I thought I did. Or let's just try to stamp it straight again. Where's the topper? It's a little bit on the right on the other side. Oops, yeah, I think that's what my eye just does. Okay, let's grab the Tombow glue and adhere the topper on, because I think a glue dot is a little bit much. And yeah, we'll make the topper kind of shift a little bit. I thought I had everything over here, but of course you leave the one glue you need on the other side, my other side of the table. Just a little bit, because it just overhangs a tiny, tiny bit. Okay. Flip it over, stick it on top. That's down a little far, but that's all right. That's okay. And then our dimensionals. So I want a couple over here on the right side and one at the top. Right side right there. So I want to try to avoid the ribbon. And we got to put our green hearts. So I've got actually 2 cards for you for the holiday season. Isn't that kind of fun? Yeah. If you don't make any other holiday cards this season, these are the 2 you're going to make. Okay, and I just had that heart kind of sticking out a little bit. Kind of off center, but not off of the card because it's not going to fit in your envelope. Glue it up for your little heart. Right there. And I wonder, I probably have enough green here where, would you like a heart for the inside of your card? Green heart. I think I would. So you will get another set of green hearts in your kit. I like this heart because it's not symmetrical. One side is curvier, and I have that curvier side on the right here, if you can see that. And then the little small heart there. Okay, perfect. Okay, so there's your first card. So let's get the supplies wiped away and bring the blue one in. Okay, here is your kit. Of course, I've got them tucked in your little cello envelopes. You'll have a piece of crumb cake, but I'm just gonna find the square I already did, a triangle I already did with you. Save that for a kit. And also, let's just cut this in half right away. And we can use that for the inside of the card. What did I say? 3/4 of an inch. Or thereabouts. Okay. Again, your embellishment strips could be assorted, could be what I show on the video, might be something else as I go through my supplies. I chose not to put them on my card, but you can kind of figure out if you want to put them somewhere on your card. All right, set those aside. And I'm going to set one of the thin strips and one of these aside because I can use those in kits or my sample cards when I actually do this on a Facebook Live. So, okay, so now let's figure out what's going on here. I had 2 cardstock pieces there. You're only going to get 1. Bone fold that down so it's not popping up at us as we're trying to assemble. Okay, and this is the inside piece. Let's get our paper pierce mat set up here so that we can do some stamping on it. All right, here's our sample, and got it going the right way. The jar, we'll work on that too. So again, if you have not made the Jar of Joy purchase, you're going to have to grab your stamps from some other stamp set on your shelf. I'm sure you can find something that'll work just fine. This is Jar of Joy is where I got all of the stamps that I'm going to be using. Let me grab them. And let's work on the jar first. Okay, so work on stamping that and this, the lid. Good. Those 2 are done. Now the snowman. Move some of the adhesives out of the way. Snowman into the Night of Navy. just in the center towards the bottom of the jar. Okay, then let's move this out of the way. The scarf. Now the scarf, I use Gorgeous Grape. You can hardly see it, but it's a little bit of a contrast if you get your glasses on. I didn't want it blue since they did provide us with a second stamp for the scarf. Now, I looked at this and I went, what is going on? Till I stamped it. So it's actually the scarf swooshing off to the side, the neck, and then the brim of the hat. And it was a little bit fussy for me to line up. But what I looked for was the left edge of the neck scarf with the left edge of the neck, actual snow neck. And then the brim kind of didn't come through because of the blue Night of Navy, but that's okay. So that's what I did with that one. Okay, as long as I've got the glue here, let's do this. Thinking about it, just a tiny. Okay, I started with a little treat for up on the, just to the right of the center of this. A little treat for you with some sweetness next to it. And I think we're just gonna put the sweetness down there, okay? Not going to see it way down there. And a sweetness kind of all around, a little treat for you. And then the sending a little is right there. Sweetness your way. And then I did the snow. Just to fill in around the words. Okay. Didn't put anything here because the jar was going to cover it, but I see there's empty space there. I don't really like that, but let's see what I can fill it in with. Here's a little treat, and blue would be next. A little treat. Let's put maybe a little treat there. Okay. And the sending a little down there. And then do the sweetness wherever I need to fill in and where I don't want to put the blue. I just have the dots up there. Let's put some dots down here to kind of pull the circular pattern down here. Maybe up there too, because there's not as much, or there's a space up there. And then maybe a dot here and here. You can do whatever you want with your patterns and your inks. That's what I'm going to do. Now the inside, what should we do for the inside? It's going to be this. Just do some snow. Yeah. There. Okay, I think we're done with the ink, so I'm going to get them out of the way. Let's get some adhesive going here. So the other side of the need for tweed, I think that would be a great Halloween background, black and white. At the jar of joy was just for Christmas. Snow, no Halloween in that one. They missed the marketing opportunity. All right, so now next we're going to add our triangle. It's already stamped. Okay, let's get some of this out of the way here so I can see what I'm doing. All right, so your polka dotted twine. Hopefully I've cut it long enough that one side's at an angle so that you can custom cut the other one. I had to cut it just long enough to fit into your kit. And since it's kind of a twill, it's a pretty sturdy ribbon. There is no wrapping that around anything. I'm going to attach it with some tear and tape and then do a custom cutoff. And just flip it over and cut off this corner. Preferably over something so you can just get all the fibers into your trash. You'll cut off a few fibers there. All right, we are going to, we're gonna find the purple one. I think it'll just, you won't be able to tell that it's purple, but maybe it'll add another color. Yeah, you can't actually tell it is purple. It'll add just another layer of depth instead of being tone on tone with the navy or the crumb cake. Yeah, like that. There. Direct to paper, one of my favorite technique of mine. That's been around probably since the first time I picked up a stamp. And we've got some down there, but that's okay. Okay, and then we're going to add some dimensionals down here, one here. And grab your die cuts that are included in your kit. So a jar of the green glue that's almost gone. It's actually perfect for these little small die cuts because you can just barely squeeze it and a little bit will come out. So I've got the hot on the blue and the cocoa. And if you're hand delivering this, you know what you're going to stuff inside. A little hot cocoa packet. Or a little chocolate that can be melted into hot cocoa. And I've got the C and the O. Got the O on the ribbon there. Okay, so thank you for purchasing my jar punch kits in the mail for September 2025. Hope you enjoyed creating these with me. Sample card and the card I created with you. If you need to purchase the coordinating products, the Jar of Joy Sweet Jar and the Jar Punch, along with the Bee Builder Punch, Those products are available through my online store at sjsinks.stampinup.net. The V-Builder is in the annual catalog. The jar, product, stamp set, and punch are only available through the online exclusive categories at my online store. All right, thanks again for stamping with me. Look in your email for the coordinating PDF, which has all of the supplies and the measurements to create these cards, and we'll stamp with you soon. Bye.